All right, week 8 college football breakdown here. Maybe the game of the day out in the Pac-12. Got UCLA undefeated still off of 2 huge wins, going into a much tougher environment at Autzen Stadium in Eugene, Oregon, taking on the Oregon Ducks. Oregon in this game is a 6-point home favorite on a very high total at 70 and a half. My first reaction to this game, seeing this total around 68, 68 and a half earlier in the week, I did like the over just with how these teams match up. We've lost a little bit of value on that since. And I think a 2-point line move is on a total matters less when you're talking about it could be a high variance game. Obviously, expected to be a higher scoring game. It obviously is going to matter less in a game like this than a 2-point move in Iowa, Illinois. That being said, I don't advocate for necessarily taking bad numbers consistently. So that's scaring me off the over a little bit, losing a little bit of value. And that stuff does come back to bite you. It's not going to bite you every time, but if you do that consistently, you're going to, lose more than you should. I'm going to attack this game from a side. I'm still trying to decide, should I just go ahead and bite the bullet, take the over here, even though we've lost a little bit of value? Because I do think that's probably my best look in this game. From a side perspective, I see the case for both sides here. UCLA has won 2 huge games in a row. They beat Washington on that Friday night standalone game. I know that game finished at 8-point margin. Very misleading. UCLA beat the brakes off of Washington in that game, and then they beat Utah by double digits as well. Utah is supposed to be this physical in the trenches, not a sexy team, but a team that's going to beat a more so flashy team like UCLA. That didn't play out the way that a lot of people thought that game was going to. I mean, Utah was a 3.5-point, 4-point road favorite in that game. UCLA diced them. The betting markets have been low on UCLA. The one thing I'll say, though, both those games were at the Rose Bowl, comfortable environment. This is clearly an environmental change going from the friendly confines of the Rose Bowl up on the road to Eugene, Oregon, one of the toughest places to play, not only in the Pac-12, but in the country. It's truly one of the biggest home field advantages out there, and it's going to be rocking here on Saturday afternoon. So how does UCLA adjust to that? I like the makeup of their offense, and I've been high on UCLA for a while now. I played them to win over 8.5 games preseason. It's a very balanced offensive system. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is a fifth-year starter that's continually gotten better and better. He's a dual-threat guy. He's completing almost 75% of his passes. He's been terrific. I was expecting this kind of year from him, and we've certainly gotten it. But maybe the most important guy on this UCLA offense is Zach Charbonnet. He's over 7 yards a carry this year. He's a true bruiser at that running back position. Remember him from his time at Michigan. He's been doing this at UCLA now for 2 years. He's a really, really good football player. So can Oregon step up to the challenge? I mean, their defense is, from an analytical perspective, Oregon's defense is the worst unit on the field. I'm telling you, the metrics guys, the data guys, and just the not guys, the data in and of itself is not high on this Oregon defense. It really falls within that back seven because Oregon's good in the trenches, and we'll get to that in a second. But as long as DTR gets protected, why wouldn't he be able to dice this Oregon secondary? They didn't look great against Arizona. They didn't look great against Stanford. They didn't look great against Washington State. Why couldn't UCLA repeat the success they've shown and what on paper is not that hard of a matchup? Why couldn't Zach Charbonnet do the same thing? So I get that. And this is probably why I think the over is my best look. I just don't feel great about UCLA's defense stepping up in this spot. Bo Nix is a guy that him alone, and we saw this at Auburn, not a very good player, but he's surrounded by so much talent on this Oregon offense that it's made his job so much easier. He's actually been a pretty effective player for the Ducks this year. They've got so much explosiveness out of that running back room. It's kind of the anti-Zach Charbonnet. They don't have a, bruiser running back, but they got a lot of speed out of the backfield. They're able to create so many explosive plays on the ground. I haven't seen enough from UCLA's defense to where I think they've been solid against the run, but on the road here against a really explosive run game, I do think Oregon's going to be able to, keep that aspect of their offense rolling. And then what do we know about Oregon? Might be the best offensive line in college football. They've allowed just 1 sack this year. Mario Cristobal did a fantastic job of recruiting the offensive line specifically. He left that program in a great state. They might have the best offensive line in college football. So I don't love that aspect for UCLA's defense here. I really do see a case for both sides here. And on the surface, Chip Kelly, this is his 5th year at UCLA. He's been building, towards having a team like this for quite a while. I think they are legit. If they weren't to cover this game, it wouldn't take away anything they've done over the past 2 weeks. This is a legit football team and a legit contender in the Pac-12. But Dan Lanning is a first-year head coach. This is a different kind of matchup. You're not playing Washington State and Stanford and Arizona. You're playing UCLA. Is he ready for this kind of challenge? We're going to find out. I don't have as great of a feel on the side. I think you can make a really good case for both sides. My best look would absolutely be towards the over here. There's so much to like about each of these offenses. Don't think pace is going to be much of a concern. And the amount of explosive plays that we could see each of these really good offenses, going up against these, two pretty suspect defenses, this should figure to be a higher scoring game. I know we've lost a little bit of value on the over, but I still would feel pretty comfortable taking it at 70.5. And ultimately, that is by far my best look on this game. Haven't locked it in yet. Recording this on Thursday night. This could be a Friday or Saturday morning edition for me. Over 70.5 is my best look here and what's perhaps the game of the day. All right, guys, before we get out of here, I know you see this shirt right here. If you're in need of unique but comfortable golf apparel, head over to proud90.com. They got polos with the colder weather coming, hoodies and quarter zips. Recently added a ladies line. Proud 90's got all your golf apparel needs. Browse their selection, and if you see anything you like at checkout, use code Fordham. It's going to get you 15% off your entire order. That's code Fordham is going to get you 15% off your order at proud90.com. Support me, support Proud90, proud90.com.